Okay. So when we say tenant, this is a tenant architecture. Okay. So there are multiple, we can say multiple types of users who would be accessing tenants. There's administrators, there's integration developers, or we can say third-party systems for given accounts to access that, and there could be an SAP. So first of all, we would see these roles, okay, and then we would see how the tenants are being accessed. So for administrator and integration developers, so in an organization there can be multiple roles defined for people. So like we have what we have administration, like not everyone would have access to administration permission for the whole tenant, okay, because of security reasons. The another reason would be uh, someone who has no idea about any service or any options, and they might mess up with the tenant, and these might cause a lot of time and outage, and there's various serious consequences for that. So the developers are given a very limited set of permissions. Okay. The second would be integration developer. An integration developer would be the one who would be creating, deploying, managing the iFlows, and it has access to monitoring as well, monitoring and the payload logs. Whereas the administrator has access to all of these things, and it also has access to subscribing the services, adding users, maintaining their permissions, and all of these things. Okay.
So this administrator will be a security consultant, or it will be one of the integration consultant itself.
Okay. So previously in SAP PO, this used to be a security consultant and very high level integration consultants. But here in CPI, these would be our integration consultants itself. Okay. But these are also the people who are very highly versed with the tenant administration. So they are aware of all of the options, they are aware of what roles and whatnot. Okay. So usually administrator rights are not given unless and until you ask for them, and you show them that you are actually well versed with them. Okay. The second would be our third party systems, like any services or any accounts that we are going to use to send and receive request to the system. So whenever a sender wants to send a request to our system, it needs to have access to our systems. Okay. So in case of an HTTP account, let's just say it's an HTTP service, sender needs to have access to our tenant. So what we can do is we can give them a system account which has basically just one permission, one role, which is required to send and receive messages to the tenant. Okay. And we would be providing them with the single account. They do not have access to any other, let's say, cockpit or integration flow designer or anything. They would be just able to access the sending and receiving messages from our system. Okay, and there are other users such as from SAP. SAP also helps you with the provisioning of tenants, and when we have some issues, or let's say we are facing some difficulty in the configuration or something, so they also provide you support. So they have then we need to give them access, and they can look into our tenant and tell us what's wrong, or they can help us with anything that's missing or everything. Okay. So one thing I would like to highlight is there's something called provision. Okay, it's not a very clear term, but for provisioning means provisioning access is something like a super admin. Okay. So that whenever a user has a provisioning access, he would be able to do a lot more things even than an administrator. It can subscribe to services, it can assign many things. Okay, so we will see what are the things that we can do. Okay, so when you would be registering to your trial account, you would be having provisioning access. Okay, because you are the whole and sole user of that tenant or that organization. So you can do a lot more things, but when you go up in a project, we would not be having that kind of access. but yes, we can still do a lot much. So these were the users. And when we go to the architecture, so whenever our cloud platform tenant is let's say protected by a load balancer, so any request that is being sent to our tenant first goes to the load balancer. This is SAP load balancer. Okay. And we have two types of node in a tenant. So one is tenant management node and the another one is runtime node.
Okay.
So tenant, so we can have multiple runtime nodes and we will have a single tenant management node. So the main use of a tenant management node is, so most of your contents are accessible and like accessible on the tenant management node. This is basically administrator of these runtime nodes. So whenever request comes in, the tenant management node will just forward that to runtime nodes, just in case. And these runtime nodes are responsible for actually processing your message. Okay. So what happens is the tenant management node, whenever a request is coming, it gets to the runtime node. What runtime node would do is it will use, if there's a data content required, it will use that data content. It would process your whole message. So our iFlows are practically deployed on these runtime nodes. Okay. This will process your message. What it will do is it will write our message contents, our message logs, everything in its own backend database, and it will add the monitoring data like status of the message, time and everything, iFlow number, iFlow ID and everything in that backend database. And what tenant management node would help us with is we can in the operations view we can monitor messages, we can see the content. So what tenant management node will provide us with a dashboard to access all of that data. Okay.
So how many will be there? Only one tenant management node and one runtime node, or it will be like one and many?
So it would be a one-to-many relationship here, because one runtime node might not be enough. So in case of a failover, like let's say one runtime node is having a too much load and it is shut down. So it would automatically take another runtime node and assign its work to that node.
So
this is one of the
can we judge the number of runtime nodes, or is it like without subscription model, number of runtime nodes?
No, I guess because SAP, like it has a feature like whenever we have one node running on a very high resources, it will automatically add the second node, because we have a feature of scalability over here. We can scale up and scale down according to our requirements. So there, you're gonna tell a runtime node at a certain point of time.
Okay.
So these are basically features of a cloud. Let's just say this is a feature of cloud, that we will have availability. If one goes down, the second one would be up. So even in an update process, like every time there's an update, what happens is the new runtime node is created. It is updated with the update patches, and this one is shut down, and all of the previous one's traffic is now routed to the next one. So it's a live ongoing process in the backend. Okay. So this was the basic architecture of a tenant. So we have tenant management node, we have runtime nodes, and then we have a whole load balancer, and in the backend we have a storage with monitoring data, message content, iFlows and everything.
Okay.
Any queries till now?
No.